And these guys picked the two weakest civs. qeast already getting vills and aging. Andre's already throwing down the houses. So the houses sort of slow down Celts here. You know, qeast is already starting production. This is what makes Celts the hardest civ. Persia also one of the hardest because you've got no counter infantry out of your barracks, which sort of is your Age 2 metagame staple. And yeah, you probably see why, considering your players are already starting to make barracks at Age 1. Ideally, qeast actually has these villages split across all the buildings, like what Andres is looking to try and do here. This is the fastest way to get them out, and he should be setting up for Age 3 pretty quickly at this rate. Against the other civs this is quite tough to pull off, but against Celts or Persia this is actually, you know, quite a viable way of playing. But just the fact that Celts have to invest in producing the houses relatively early means you're not producing that 4th and that 5th barracks as quick as the other civs can manage, or starting to get a range or a stables once you're in Age 2. So Andre's already going to be able to go to Silver Age here. So it's actually quite nice getting to see this level of Tiny gameplay, because back when we were doing tournaments for Tiny, there sort of was a real metagame around playing Romans at first until Engineers got removed from Tiny, and then basically just playing Norse against Norse. And then from there, like, sort of either playing mirrors or just basically playing Greeks, Egypt, Romans and Babylonians amongst themselves, and they were all sort of fairly balanced, but these two civs really quite trailed in terms of pick rate and just overall viability. The towering from qeast on a small map is a nice touch, but in saying that, if he has his barracks a little bit more forward, he can immediately throw up towers behind them. Even Andres is sort of a little bit passive with these. There was a real metagame of trying to force as close to the center as you could and then just throwing up towers behind them. As long as you're outside of opponent's TC range, you can just cover so much ground with them, stop your opponent from massing. This is why it's quite tough for Persia in this situation, because, you know, they haven't got counter infantry, while every other civ basically has the opportunity to have them at this stage. So even the second worst Tiny civ against the worst, sorry. I kind of had that wrong. I think I said Celts were the worst. Honestly, like, Persia is really rough just because Spara don't hold up so well. Babs does get going a little bit quicker than Persia. It is a bit dicey. You are still on the back foot, having only bearers and spears, just like Spara and spears. But once you get your first lances and bows out, it's just a little bit easier to defend. You've immediately got like a lot of oomph against counter infantry. Whereas for Persia, like, they're only relying on bowmen. Like, Asabara aren't really a good unit into this composition. It's very easy to counter. But when it's lancers and bowmen immediately in Age 2, it's kind of good for the Babylonian player. Whereas, yeah, Persia in this instance, it's very hard to defend this sort of shove from any civ. And, like, Celts is actually one of the worst at sort of pushing it, because if they try to go quick Age 3 like Andres does, again, it slows down their barracks production or transition to ranges or stables alongside it. But yeah, now unless qeast is producing perfectly out of all of his production, and he's not. In fact, I can check between the two. And even this isn't really ideal. Like, ideally, Andres wants to cancel a few of these and throw down more production. Same with qeast. Like, there's just a lot of production to actually tie up your population with, and it makes it hard to produce out of other buildings if you've got more than one type. But that's sort of something that comes into play at, like, the highest levels of Tiny. guys. Well, Andres wins over qeast there. And we'll see what these guys want to do. If they want to do another tiny game as one of the more viable tiny civs, or if they just want to go to a standard game. Yeah, we'll get to connected rivers now. Whoop, I've got the player names backwards here. Sorry for my unprofessionalisms. We'll just get to the point of the matter and move on to game 2.